tell you that pursuant to what we talked about in today's earlier video, we had just everything go exactly the way that we had anticipated. So the geometric trading that we saw early in the session, it tends to continue throughout the day when you get it in that first hour or 2 hours of trading, right? So I like to wait until 8:30 Pacific time to do these things, to set them up and get them going. So really like 11:30 Eastern, you know, just about the time that the momentum guys are sitting around going, you know, this isn't working for me, or it's too slow or whatever. That's when I like to get into these volatility band trades, because this is where the programs start to box things up. And once the trade is in the box, it's pretty easy to go through. And, you know, once you have this volatility band stuff down, you can sort of pick off where the zones are going to be and get in front of the good opportunities. Remember, it's, you know, first and second mouse, it's going to be good. The second to third time is really not the best opportunity. So you want to get the first entry, you want to get the second entry. You know, once or twice, the third time you're rolling dice is something that we've been saying in the office here. Let's take a look, though, at what happened with those trades we talked about earlier, as well as later in the session. So let's go to the charts. So take a look here. We had this move lower, and then we had the fib retracement. And everything about that lined up. So if you look back at that first video, then you'll see that we identified what was support and resistance early in the session. We had a very logical reason for an entry when we came back up and retested that support and resistance level. And we had a really good target down at the central pivot line. So, central pivot is going to be the red line on my real tick screens always. For those of you who are new to this, though none of you are, I think everybody is coming to Super Vol Sunday in Vegas, either live or you're going to watch the live stream. And we're just going to reinforce this stuff. You guys, a lot of you have been through boot camp and been trading with us for years, so you understand the logic. I get that it's not easy sometimes to get a grip on all this other stuff that's going on. So how did we know, for instance, on this retracement to the pivot line, that we wanted to short? So we did short this, and we shorted down to not 318.74, this line here, we shorted down to right at this line. So the reasoning here is, you want to look for confluence, and when you're finding a confluence of indications, right, support, resistance, that blue line, this anchored VWAP, this volume by price threshold level here, as you're looking through all that, you want to put the pieces together, and then you don't want to say, well, I'm looking for, the money shot here. I want to get all the way down to that green pivot. If you're getting in at this level on a reversal, right at the central pivot line, and you're coming back down again, then what you're looking for is the trip back down to this level of profitability at your anchored VWAP, and you get the opportunity here to get that off twice. So you had one entry, and you had a second entry, and like I said, if you keep your hands off the third entry, then what won't happen is that you're juggling stops and trying to figure out, well, how far up into this range do I go? Do I give it 40 cents? Do I give it 50 cents? What am I doing? You want to focus on what's in front of you. Take the first opportunity, take the second opportunity. At least this is for me, right? This is not necessarily for everybody, but take a look at these. If the first opportunity doesn't really make sense to you, if you're worried, is it going to really inflect there? The second shot is usually pretty good too. But you see this happen out over the course of the day today repeatedly. So if you waited for it to come up and hit here, and I was working with a friend of mine on this today, so we had all these trades lined up, and he was just killing it, and we got up into 319.78. First time there was no trade. So we had the trade parameters set pretty tight. We were focusing on the fact that the inflection here was very hard the first time that it got up there. We were banking on it was going to come up. I said, did you get it? He says, no, it didn't pick me up. Got to here, picked me up. All right, so the second time around, there was an entry. Then it got down below our threshold level. So now if you look, you've got the anchored VWAP, and you've got this anchored VWAP down here, and you had a move that got you from the central pivot line, right? Got you all the way down into here. And sadly, there's no trade there, right? So you don't have anything to do there. And if you're going to be full of, coulda, woulda, shouldas, then you're going to wind up disappointed by this kind of thing. Instead, what you want to do is focus on this move back up here again, the fact that we had all the resistance form right around this anchored VWAP, and that anchored VWAP, of course, is a new one. That's going to be the result of this move lower. So when you get this move down, where's all the volume happening? Oh, it's right around this price. When you see that when it gets up into that price area, you've got all this junk going on, a lot of resistance, that tells you it might be a good place to take another opportunity, take another shot at an opportunity, right? So once we got down into here, we missed that one, but then look what happens. Now it's formed a range, and it comes back up and it gives you an entry and a target, and an entry and a target. So I'm done with it for the day, but really over the course of the session, we've had tons of opportunities, right? All of this stuff lines up really well with all of the stuff that's going on over here. So everything that we're looking for in terms of 2 standard deviation excursions in price, remember that's what we're doing now over here. I've formatted this chart so that it's easier for everybody to follow. These are Bollinger Bands instead of standard deviations of volatility. We've got some standard indicators that are just going to make life a little bit more just easy to follow, right? So if you're looking at the stochastic, you can see that you're sort of in the lower part of the range, and it's not had a strong day at all. We didn't have any of that consolidation up around here. Remember that stochastics are really meant to be an indicator of trend strength. They are not typically used in the classic version as a reversal. The reversal interpretation came much, much later, and people started sort of fiddling with this thing and figuring out what they thought it could do or what they thought they could add to it. But, really what you're looking for is just, am I at the top? Am I at the bottom? Am I consolidating sideways? Or am I sort of tracking in a range? And all it's going to do is give you a little bit of decision support. Your decisions themselves need to come from what you're doing right here and what you're doing, right here. So where you're taking price and you're picking it apart and you're looking for all those areas of confluence, that's the thing you look to first. And when you think you have everything put together, then you can lean a little bit on these other indications that we have of whether or not something's going to happen. So the 2SD stuff, you guys who know my Baltimore chop and you trade that every day, that's a different 2 standard deviation. That's looking at volatility. Same type of a principle, same thing applies. Price reverts to the mean just as much as volatility reverts to the mean. Nobody really invented anything here. These bands are just a classical interpretation of statistical probability theory. And what they do is tell you that, you are most likely, when you get up into here, going to wind up back down to here. And if you wind up back down all the way here, that's 2 standard deviations out. You've got a 95% probability of a reversion to that level right there. That's all these things tell you. And what it should have done for you today, if you watched the earlier video, was translate into some dollars, because this was a really good day to just follow these bands through. All right, so that's the charts, and I hope the live stream is just working perfectly, and then in future sessions we'll add chat and all that kind of stuff to it so that we can ping pong some ideas around. But hopefully you had a great trading day today and an even better one on deck for tomorrow. All right, I will see you guys live tomorrow morning.